Hey everyone, and welcome back for another deep dive. You ready for an inspiring story?
Oh, yeah, definitely count me in. Always love a good conservation win.
Well, today is definitely that. Get ready to meet the Cantabrian Brown Bear.
Oh, wow, so we're going to Spain?
Yeah, well, not literally, but that's where these amazing bears call home. They were once on the brink of extinction.
Oh, no, seriously, I actually had no idea brown bears were endangered anywhere.
It's crazy, right? Like, you think of brown bears and picture them roaming vast forests. But the Cantabrian brown bear,
Yeah.
they were down to fewer than 50 individuals back in the late 20th century. Just 50.
Wow, that's just heartbreaking to even
I
imagine.
know. But the good news is, today, there are over 350 of them roaming the Cantabrian Mountains.
Yeah.
It's seriously one of the most incredible conservation success stories out there.
That is a pretty amazing turnaround. So how did they do it? What makes these bears so special?
Well, let's start with their looks, because these guys aren't just brown.
Oh, what do you mean?
They've got this whole range of shades. Like, you might see some that are almost dark chocolate brown,
I see.
and then others that are more like a sandy brown. Sometimes they even have these lighter patches on their fur.
Hmm,
And
interesting.
size-wise, they're actually smaller than their cousins over in Eastern Europe and North America. Did you know that?
No, I wouldn't have guessed that. I guess you always imagine brown bears as just these massive creatures.
Right. Now, these bears are pretty solitary. You won't catch them hanging out in big groups.
Oh, so they're like the lone wolves of the bear world.
Exactly. Except, of course, during mating season.
Oh, right. Makes sense. Or when a mother bear has cubs to raise.
Precisely.
Hmm.
Now, when it comes to their diet, they're omnivores, which means they eat both plants and animals. Berries, nuts, roots, insects, honey, you name it. They'll even go for small animals if the opportunity arises.
Opportunistic eaters. I like it.
Totally. But get this, they have this amazing adaptation where their eating habits are totally tied to the seasons.
Huh. So how does that work?
Well, in autumn, they go on this huge feeding frenzy. Like, they'll eat pretty much anything they can get their paws on.
So why the big rush to eat?
Well, they need to pack on as much weight as possible before winter sets in because they hibernate.
Right. Of course, to survive those harsh winter months when food is scarce.
Exactly. So we've got this amazing bear, perfectly adapted to its environment, but then how did it end up so close to disappearing?
Yeah, it's a pretty stark reminder of the impact we humans can have on a species. And in this case, humans were the primary reason for their decline. It was mostly down to unregulated hunting and poaching back in the day. No rules, no limits, just taking as many as they wanted.
Oh, makes you cringe, right? I mean, we almost lost them forever because of it, but thankfully it's a different story today. Still, even with their comeback, they face so many challenges, don't they? What would you say are the biggest ones they're still dealing with?
Well, habitat loss and fragmentation, for sure, like human development encroaching on their territory, making it harder for them to find food, find mates, just survive in general.
Yeah, and climate change is looming too.
Right, throwing another wrench in the works, unpredictable weather patterns, shifting vegetation. It's all a recipe for disruption to their delicate ecosystem.
And then you have these accidental deaths from things like traps and poisons meant for other animals.
Oh, yeah. Like those snares they set for wild boars or poisons put out to control rodents, and a bear accidentally comes along. It's awful, isn't it?
It's just tragic,
Mm.
especially when their numbers are still so fragile. And let's not forget the potential for conflict with humans. I mean, bears and people sharing the same space is bound to lead to some tense situations.
Definitely. As their territories overlap more and more, it's inevitable. Bears might wander into towns looking for food, or people accidentally stumble upon them in the wild. It's a dangerous situation for both sides.
So it seems like a pretty bleak picture, even with all the progress. But hey, remember, this is a comeback story. How did they manage to turn things around?
That's the really inspiring part. It shows what focused conservation efforts can really achieve. And it wasn't just one thing, it was a whole bunch of initiatives working together.
Okay, so give us the rundown. What were these magic ingredients?
Well, first off, Spain stepped up and implemented legal protections for the bears, made hunting and poaching completely illegal.
Good, good. About time, right?
Hmm.
But who made sure these laws actually happened?
Organizations like the Fundación Oso Pardo played a huge role in that. They really pushed for these legal protections and worked hand in hand with the government to make sure they were enforced.
Amazing. So that's the legal side of things. But what about their habitat? How do you even begin to fix something as big as habitat loss?
It's a massive undertaking, for sure, but they've been working on habitat restoration projects like connecting fragment areas and creating wildlife corridors.
Wildlife corridors.
Yeah, it's like creating safe pathways for the bears to move between different areas, even across human-dominated landscapes.
So, like a highway just for bears?
Exactly, a bear superhighway, if you will.
I love that.
Yeah.
But you can't just build these corridors and expect everyone to be okay with it, right? People need to be on board.
You're absolutely right. That's where public awareness campaigns come in. They've been doing a lot of work to educate people about the bears, their behavior, their importance to the ecosystem, and how to coexist safely.
Right, because knowledge is power.
Hmm.
The more people understand, the less fear and conflict there will be. And hey, wasn't there even something about ecotourism playing a part in all of this?
Oh, absolutely. Ecotourism has been a game changer. By giving people the chance to see the bears in their natural habitat, it creates this sense of wonder and appreciation for these animals.
I can imagine. And it probably brings in some much-needed revenue for local communities too, right?
Exactly. It creates economic incentives to protect the bears and their habitat. It's a win-win situation for everyone.
So we've got legal protection, habitat restoration, public awareness, and even ecotourism. That's quite a recipe for success.
Right. But we can't forget about those two distinct populations of Cantabrian brown bears. You see, the Western population, they're doing fairly well.
And the eastern populations.
They're much smaller and more isolated, which makes them vulnerable to something called a genetic bottleneck.
Okay, I think I'm going to need you to break that down for me. What's a genetic bottleneck?
Imagine you have a bottle, and you're pouring something through a very narrow opening, like a funnel. Only a small amount can get through at a time, right? That's kind of what happens with the genetic bottleneck.
I'm starting to see where you're going with this.
Yeah, so when a population becomes isolated, like the eastern Cantabrian brown bears, the gene pool gets smaller.
Less genetic diversity.
Exactly. And that makes the entire population more susceptible to diseases or changes in the environment. They just don't have that same ability to adapt and bounce back.
So it's not just about how many bears there are, but the health and variety of their genes as well. Fascinating stuff.
Absolutely. And that's why connecting those two populations, finding ways for them to interact and mix their genes, is so crucial for their long-term survival.
Wow, we've covered so much ground today. We've learned about the unique Cantabrian brown bear, the threats it faced, and the incredible efforts that brought it back from the brink.
It's truly a testament to the power of dedicated conservation.
It really is. And I think it holds a powerful message for all of us.
What do you mean?
Well, it shows that even when things seem dire, even when a species is teetering on the edge of extinction, hope is never lost.
If we're willing to put in the work, we can turn things around.
Precisely. The Cantabrian brown bear story is a beacon of hope and a reminder that we have the power to make a difference. So, the next time you hear about a species in trouble, remember this story. Remember that dedicated action based on understanding and collaboration can bring species back from the brink. And maybe, just maybe, you'll be inspired to join the fight and help write the next chapter in conservation history.
Absolutely. Even small actions can have a ripple effect. So what can you do?
Yeah, what can you do? Think about it. Thanks for tuning in, everyone.
Until next time.
See ya.